70 million. Think about that number for a second. It's difficult to imagine 70 million of any one thing. Could you imagine 70 million gumballs? What about $70 million? Now think about 70 million cats, because that's how many cats are currently roaming the streets of the United States without homes. The American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals estimates that there are currently about 70 million homeless cats in the United States alone. Of these 70 million cats, about 3.4 million end up in shelters every year. Today, I'll be talking about why these animals end up in shelters and on the streets in the first place, the differences between a feral and a domestic cat, and what humans can do to make sure that these cats don't end up homeless in the first place. There are two very common reasons that cats end up as strays. The first is that most of their owners end up in homes that don't allow cats, or surprisingly, after they adopt a cat, they find out that they're allergic. Occasionally, their rejected pets will end up in shelter and find a new home, but more often than not, they end up on the streets. Only 10% of wild cats that come into shelters every year turn out to be spayed or neutered. This means that there are currently 90,000 cats roaming the streets that are able to produce 1 to 2 litters of about 4 to 6 kittens apiece. According to Have a Heart, the leading manufacturer of humane live animal traps in the world, this means that within 7 years, one single pair of unfixed cats and their offspring can produce up to 420,000 kittens. With such a large number of unaltered animals, it's no wonder why the cat population has spiraled out of control. There are two groups that cats can be easily placed into: stray and feral. A stray cat is one that had a home at one point and somehow ended up on the streets. The Yakima Humane Society of Washington puts the issue quite clearly when they say that many people assume that their animals will survive when they move away and leave them behind. Contrary to popular belief, domestic animals do not automatically return to their natural instincts and cannot fend for themselves. This is because they have been raised as a domestic house cat. They are not wild or feral and have never learned to fend for themselves, and generally cannot belong to an already established colony of feral cats. These ferals generally have a tight-knit community that relies on each other for life instead of humans. Unfortunately, a large number of the unaltered cats in the world tend to be these wild or feral cats. These cats are essentially no different, really, than a squirrel or a possum that one might find on their back porch. They simply tend to be unfriendly towards humans because they have not been around them for their whole lives, and they see them as predators. Most shelters will not even accept a feral cat into their care because it cannot be safely adopted into a home, and generally ends up being euthanized. These animals are generally happier and more comfortable in their wild environment because that is what has always been home to them. In these cases, the best thing to do is to spay or neuter the animal and release it back to the place where it was caught. This brings me to the subject of TNR, or Trap, Neuter, Release. This is one of the most popular ways that humans are attempting to control the amount of feral cats that are in the U.S. This program works with local shelters and veterinarians to trap feral cats, spay or neuter them, and return them to their environments. The cat is then able to live out a full life, but is not able to add to the number of ferals that are already roaming the streets. This is a fairly new movement that is catching on in most neighborhoods, and within a generation or two, we should start to see numbers of stray and feral cats decline. Along with participation in a TNR program, humans need to be responsible when considering the adoption of a cat, or any animal for that matter. Before adopting an animal, one should find out crucial things like, does my landlord allow pets? Do I have the time to devote to caring for an animal that will depend on me for survival? Can I afford the financial responsibility of food, vet bills, and care for my new companion? And a question that should be quite simple, am I allergic? If you're unsure about any of these questions, you may want to start out as a foster home for animals that are in shelters. These amazing programs pair humans with animals that need a little extra love. Maybe they're underweight and need to be nursed back to health, or maybe they are just too young to be adopted yet. Maybe they're a little bit shy and need some extra attention. Either way, providing a temporary home for a shelter cat is a great way to find out if you actually enjoy having a pet in your life, if they fit into your lifestyle, and maybe even what type of cat you're looking for. Additionally, during the foster process, if any one animal turns out to be a perfect fit for your home, you can always apply to adopt it yourself, and they can stay with you as a companion for life. Fostering cats can be one of the best ways that someone who wants to help shelters take in and find homes for more animals, as well as a great way to find out if they actually want to adopt the cat for themselves. Overall, the problem is clear. The United States has a major cat overpopulation problem that needs to be addressed in a humane manner. Recognizing a domesticated cat that can be rehomed versus a feral cat that is best left in the wild can be the difference between the life and death of some of these animals. Working with others in your community to establish a TNR program is a great way to control overpopulation. In the end, it is up to us to do whatever we can to ensure that these animals have the happy and healthy lives that every living creature is entitled to. Thank you.